All right. Hola, guys. Que paso? How's everyone doing? This is Hala Pablo. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go ahead and do a brief update here. Really picking up where we left off yesterday on the macro trend. On this one, I've got the 2021B, the one we've been going off of, the second top, as it were, distribution back in 2021, when you all remember that this is when the stable coin, this drop here, when the whole stable coin debacle with Luna and all that happened. We haven't gotten to that stage yet in our current distribution, but we see that the waves have been playing out, and it's like I said, it's what's been keeping us safe. So we're gonna continue to go ahead and track it. Now, what I did was on this one, I've discovered that if I reduce the time frame on the 2025 to like a micro time frame, like 30 minutes or below, what I get is more of a nuance. Basically, the nuance of the waves are accentuated more if I keep the 2021B at its 3 hour. So the 21B, this one is on the 3 hour that we've been modeling our technical analysis after. So we haven't altered the time frame on that. But what I did was I went ahead and reduced the time frame on our current. And so what I want to focus now is kind of like just a continuation of what we talked about yesterday with the macro trend resistance. Here's the macro trend resistance coming down from the UTAD. We had the redistribution, which was the last points of supply, and then I did a macro ABC off it, same thing. So that would correspond to this here on the 30-minute where we are. And so again, this is 2025, this is 2021, okay? And so we can see the rising wedge coming up here. That would be this area here, leading back up to the LPSY. Now we've already had that was after the all-time high. It made the all-time high for the up thrust after distribution, came back up, and then we had the macro ABCs, which I've delineated on both of these schematics here. And then from here now we had a much deeper C this year than we did 4 years ago. But then we had an immediate response by the bulls back up to the macro trend resistance where it bounced off, and this started this new channel or range, and I guess. And so right now the question is this going to be a redistribution range, or are we looking at an accumulation range? Indeed, in 2021, it proved to be redistribution. And so far, everything has played out. The end game of each wave section of this entire schematic, of this macro schematic, if you want to subdivide it into like ending diagonal, middle channel, regression trend, every section or every subsection of this macro schematic has played out now to various degrees of deviation within the waves. We've already gone over this in different videos, but in general, the waves they're following, 2025 is following 2021. Now, at some point, we're gonna break away from this model, but I don't think we've arrived at that point yet. And I think where we are right now is really critical. So if you look now, let's go to where we are now with the macro trend resistance at the latter half, or we're about midway through this regression trend here. We've come out of this macro ABC like here, and then we've had this trend kind of these flats here, and we kind of see it echoing. I went ahead and labeled each feature here as ABC at the top of this we're going to call this the micro trend resistance now. So we have a micro trend resistance and a macro trend. And so for each top of this, where the price action has hit the micro trend, I went ahead and just labeled A, B, and C. And you can clearly see the top where the highs we've it's created in both, kind of like a descending micro trend, tying in with the B of this ABC. You see here. Now the B on this one was a lot higher. Like I said, the scope's different, the exaggeration of the waves are different, but all in all, they play out. They have the same effect. They have the same ultimate effect. So the micro trend really started at the B of this ABC, just like it started here at the B in 2021. So you see, and then we came up. We had this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we had another 5, and then so it's like what are we seeing here? Is that a 5, 5, 3? I believe it is, or is it a 5, 3, 5? Can't really tell, but I haven't really looked at the Elliott waves in detail as far as whether it's like a running flat or zigzag or anything like that. What we can count, we don't really have to concern ourselves with the intricacies of that of the technical aspect of Elliott wave. Instead, we can just look at the highs. You want to keep it simple with price action. Anyone can complicate anything. That's not a sign of being proficient. It's not a sign of having deep knowledge of something, because you can complicate it. Usually, when you see someone complicating things, it's oftentimes a sign that they really don't know what they're doing, and so they add a whole bunch of indicators and a whole bunch of Elliott waves, and it makes it look impressive. But really, what's impressive is being able to simplify price action down to the grassroots. And so that's what I did with just the price action. All you need is the price action hitting a key juncture. And in this case, we're going to look at the micro trend resistance. We already know that the macro trend is almighty. Nothing has been able to penetrate the macro trend. But the micro trend has a lot of throwover on it. The macro trend has some throwover, but the micro trend we see throwover. Now, what I want to look at is we've traced this, and you could see the waves. You could just make a cursory glance at it, and you can identify the similarities of the play out of the waves. But now, I contend that we're in the C section here, and you notice for the C that it had several strong attempts. It actually prevailed through the micro trend resistance 3 different times here back in 2021. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen this year, but we see that for some reason at this C wave here, there was many attempts to actually go and actually enter into that macro trend resistance zone and try to flip it there. But ultimately, it after 3 tries, three and a half really, this one just hardly made it. It had a decisive sell-off here. This was a crash. This was a tank, right? Like I said, this was a stable coin debacle. I think this is when Luna, this is all that, when the stable coins are getting depegged. And so that's what precipitated this sell-off. So here we are now in 2021, and we've kind of played it step by step. We've gotten to this point. We haven't really lost step. We're still in tandem with 2021, but we're at a place now where we're starting to see some buying pressure come in with the bulls. The bulls are becoming recalcitrant again. They're trying to take, in this case, the anchored VWAP. We've had 2 attempts so far on the anchored VWAP here. Let's go back to 2021 and see. Doesn't that look similar? Look at these attempts here. Now, they were nowhere near back then the anchored VWAP or the ICE, but this whole redistribution range was under the ICE or under the anchored VWAP. I mean, it came through, and since the B wave and this ABC, the B wave wasn't able to make it through it. It stopped it out, and this year, I think the V wave, our B wave, we're still well above the anchored VWAP. So what the bulls were contending for here was to flip this micro trend resistance line, as you can see, and they weren't able to do it. Ultimately, they had 3 attempts and then a half. They failed here miserably, and it sold off. And so here we're seeing an attempt to take, first of all, the ice, the anchored VWAP, and then if it can overtake the ice, then the next step would be the micro trend resistance on this on this range. Whether or not we're going to be able to do it remains to be seen. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm just following these two schematics. This one has proved to be true and accurate and safe and trustworthy. I think many of you will agree who's been following this channel, following these series up until now. Excuse me. And so I'm going to continue to trust it until it gives me reason not to. And so we're seeing the attempts right here. You see these long upper shadows. Look at these. Look at these. You have two so far. Doesn't this resemble, see this spiky price action here? So I don't know. What I'm saying is, and this is what I told my group, keep your eyes and your ears open in the next few days for news, a news event that could precipitate something tragic, economically speaking. Now, we know if you go to this fact sheet here from the White House, you know, the tariffs are ramping up right now. And, you know, it says here that President Trump is reinstating the full 25% tariff. This was from yesterday on steel imports and increasing tariffs on aluminum imports to 25%. You know, and back when there were tariffs in place, certain countries were exempt from them. And these are those: Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, Japan, Mexico, South Korea, the EU, Ukraine, United Kingdom, all had received exemptions, which prevented the tariffs from being effective. Now remember, we're talking about crypto is a global asset, right? It's not controlled or owned by the United States. So this pertains to the global scene right now. And so these tariffs affect the world globally, as you can see. And so in the past, there were exemptions. Those exemptions have been lifted now. And so all of these companies, all of these countries are now subject to these tariffs as well. The United States inadvertently created loopholes. So this is from the White House website, created loopholes that were exploited by China. And of course, we know that we're embarking upon a very deep trade war with China right now, and I think it's not going to be alleviated anytime soon. It looks like it's just, and then us going into United States, taking Gaza and all the talk there, and relocating the Palestinians, and I mean anything can happen. There could be terrorist attacks and threats and everything. All of this has a detrimental effect on the markets. So going back to the charts here, we need something that, if this is going to continue to walk and play out in lockstep with 2021, we need something to effectuate this sort of sell-off. Now, I don't know if it's going to be this deep, but I do think that this could be what we're looking for to take, or market makers could use to bring the entire crypto market down a couple notches, and to levels where they could begin to seriously reaccumulate or reabsorb crypto in preparation for the next cycle up. I believe whatever happens, it's not going to be long. It's not going to be long-winded, but it will be a zone for reaccumulation, and I think it's coming pretty soon if we're to continue to go off of this schematic here. So we're going to continue to watch the volume. We're going to continue to watch the prices, and we're going to continue to hope for when and if it does happen, that there's an altcoin season comes out of that, where the altcoins will suddenly have their dominance. I think the alts will bleed out too. That's just the way it goes. There's no getting around that. But will they bleed out as profusely, and will their period of bleeding be as long and drawn out and as extended as Bitcoin's? That remains to be seen. I want to be optimistic, guys. I'm essentially a bull. I'm a bull trader. I love bull markets, and I would love nothing more than to give you bullish news, to come on here and give you bullish news on Zcash and Litecoin and Tron and everything else. I would love that. But right now, I mean, we have to, I would be disingenuous to just tickle your emotions and tell you that everything's sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns on the other side. I think that we're going to have that. We will go into that as we always do. But first, we have to, there needs to be some liquidity raids that need to happen before all of that can begin to play out. And the cycles that we saw from 2021, we saw that happen. I know we've been going off of subcycle B. There's a subcycle A. That started the whole thing. Subcycle A was the first all-time high of that year. And we saw that it sold off and we had a distribution. That's kind of like what I think is going to happen if we do have a sell-off, if we do retrace from this C area here and do like a 17%. I think the one we were just looking at was 17%. Then that would bring us down to like the low 80s. And so that would be something like here where we have this this accumulation range that came in, that culminated in this deep spring. And then we had a markup. We had the markup. We had the sign of strength. We had a test. And then it put another leg up. And then another leg up. And it kept going until we arrived at where we are now, the 2021B. I'm just going off the wave trajectories for 2021B. Once we retrace, if we retrace, then we can go into something. We could actually go into a whole other different kind of schematic. So what I'm contending is that the tops here are just merely juxtaposed. So that's the best thing I can think of. Again, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know the future. I'm not God. I don't have a crystal ball, guys. I'm just doing the best I can. And if you get anything out of these videos, like, subscribe. I'll continue to watch it. I'll continue to watch it diligently. And if it changes, and if anything alerts me to the fact that we've broken structure in some key area, and now it's time to become more optimistic, have more of a bullish sentiment. If these tariffs and all this stuff gets resolved soon, and there's and the sunshine is able to burst through the clouds, and the songbirds come out, and we're able to start pumping up and going, busting through this micro trend, and then the macro trend, and then leaving the ice far behind, going back through the ice, where now it becomes the creek. We jump the creek and we keep going up. No one will be more happier than I. But until then, I have to tell it as it is. And anyways, that's about it. I'm going to get going. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, check out our Discord if you want to know more about us and how to read charts with just price action, volume, and trend lines. It's served me well. And so, and if you've been following these videos, it's because of that. That's my technical analysis. That's all I do. So, all right, guys, I'm been rambling. Adios. God bless you all. Talk to you soon. Be safe in the markets, and nothing I've said here should be taken as financial advice. But you already knew that, right? God bless. Bye.